Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad that you all join us this fine Tuesday morning. So hope everyone is doing well. So apologies for starting a few minutes late. There were some fundamentals coming out during the Frankfurt market open. That's 9 o'clock. So there were some British pound fundamentals. We did need to adjust the chart slightly, just based on what those news events did come out. But glad to be here. And I think we can get this show on the road. So hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kaniaro and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, you do know during these webinars, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze the markets and we identify what trading opportunities we would be looking at taking for the day. And we do share that information with you. So as usual, I'm not here alone. So we do have John in the back office. So he'll be here to assist you on whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and John will be there to respond to you. However, if you'd like me to address any questions, kindly ask those questions in the Q&A section. So we can jump straight into it. So as usual, we'll start off with sharing my screen. So yesterday, obviously, we'll start off with our watch list. Yesterday and today, watch list has changed slightly, not necessarily by much, but you can clearly see yesterday we were looking for selling opportunities on the US dollar as well as the Japanese yen. And we're looking to mix and match those two pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. You can see today, we'll still be focusing on the US dollar and the Japanese yen for the sell. However, the Canadian dollar has also moved to the sell side. So this is going to be our new watch list for now. And we will be focusing on looking for buying opportunities on the New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, the British pound, the euro, as well as the Swiss franc. Now, there is a bit of caution with the British pound. You can clearly see at 9 o'clock, we did have a number of British pound fundamentals. Unemployment rate did go down, so we're potentially going to be seeing some strength. However, we did have a mixture of news because we do have the climate count change, which was negative. So you might find that there's some strength coming in now, but it might not necessarily last too long. You could end up finding maybe even during the US session, those sales could end up coming in. But for now, this will be our watch list and we'll keep it on the buy side. So that means since we're not going to be focusing on the Canadian dollar, let's end up having a look at the pairs that we did have yesterday that we're going to be focused, that we're not going to be looking at today. Look at a few screenshots before we do jump on to today's pairs. So we'll start off with the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. Remember, yesterday, our bias on this kind of pair was to look for selling opportunities. The fact that this market structure was within a range. You can see the illustration that we had pointed out here. Since we were at the bottom of the range, we do not want to jump in on any selling opportunities at that point in time. What we needed was either a breach to the downside and a hold below for us to look for those sells, or we did, or at least getting the price to come up all the way to the top of the range. Now, the market looked like it was attempting to break this area to the downside. You can see at 10 o'clock in the London market open, we attempted to come down. We gave a pullback, slight hold below. It attempted to come down. Can clearly see it could not pass that particular low. And I think I pointed out even during yesterday's webinar that these conservative entries are not necessarily always the best, especially if you do end up managing to grab a selling opportunity there. Make sure you manage your trade within that particular low, just in case the market does end up pulling back. But also remember, once the market is ranging, we did also want a very strong breach to the downside. This small breach, not necessarily very convincing, and you can see later on the market did manage to pull back to the upside. Around 3 o'clock, we did end up coming to the upside here. 4:30, we did end up showing at least confirmation that this was actually approved. But you can see when the price came back in, it came back to test this same area, this support and resistance area that was probed. And you can see that was at exactly 4:30, where you can see the market has attempted to try and come up higher. So the pullback was still on its way. We're hoping to see the market come up within this top area before we could end up looking for sell. So unfortunately, no trading opportunity for us on the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So with that, then there was also the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, the yen pairs did show a lot of correlation, not necessarily the best that we wanted to see. However, we did end up seeing the market actually continue to go to the upside. Remember when we were having this session yesterday, price was in the middle of this particular area. So we needed either a breach to the upside and a hold above for us to look for the buy, or we needed a pullback. So the market during the London market open kept on just grinding to the upside. You can see these sellers did end up giving some small reaction, but you can see once the price did reach the upside and it held above, you can see in the pullback coming down, and the price was actually holding above. This was at exactly 3 o'clock. So remember, we always mention this timings, 10, 3, and 4:30 to give you a nice opportunity to end up looking for buy or selling opportunities. So in this case, 3 o'clock did work out quite nicely. However, at 4:30, the New York Stock Exchange, things did end up changing. We do know the Canadian dollar and fundamentals coming out during that time. You can't see the weakness that did come in. So the price ended up coming down lower. You can't see the price pulled back, it held below. So that's why we always mention these times, 10, 3, and 4:30. It's not only when to enter a trade, but also when to manage your trade. Because just in case, we've seen many times that the market moves a certain way during the London session. And at 3 o'clock, once the US market opens, you'll find things end up moving the opposite direction. So that's why we'll always encourage, make sure when you do note this a specific time, make sure you do some sort of trade management there. So you can see the market did come back down. I'm tempted to try and come up higher, but we'll end up having a look at most of the yen pairs because they are attempting to do something similar. But remember, when pairs are both on the same side, chances are we'll end up entering some sort of range. So unfortunately for us, it's a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. So in terms of screenshots, now we did not necessarily get many. We did only end up getting one, but that's okay. We did end up getting one from Bravin. So Bravin, you did manage to grab a buying opportunity on silver. We do know you love trading silver, and it seems that the market, since remember we did point out that we're looking for mainly selling opportunities, but based on how far the sellers were, we needed some sort of better price. It seems that you did end up taking the counter. As the price did manage to go to the upside, your stop loss is already way above the entry. Very good buying opportunity right there. So I do end up hoping you manage your trade quite well. So very good job on this trade, Bravin, and keep up the good work that you've been doing as well. So remember, guys, since there was only screenshot, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. We do have contact details right there in the chat box. You can send them into WhatsApp via WhatsApp, and we will end up giving you our 2 cents on how to end up helping your trades. They don't necessarily need to be winners. Even if a trade loses and you don't know what happened, send them in to us. We'll end up helping to explain to you on that. And remember, it also ends up helping other people as well. So yes, we can jump straight into today's pairs. So we'll start off with the US dollar pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the buy side. Do the same thing with the Japanese yen as well as the Canadian dollar before we do have a look at the indices and gold and silver as well. So we'll start off here with the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out. Now, initially, when we had this session yesterday, the price was within this particular seller's area. You can even see right here. We needed one of two things. We're hoping to see whether or not the price would come down lower, giving us some sort of pullback in this red support resistance area. Also had pointed out that we did end up having some sort of bias area here. Unfortunately, that did not happen. You can see during the London market open, we did end up actually getting the strength to go to the upside. Wanted to see a pullback coming in quickly, but unfortunately that did not happen. But as the price did end up going up during the US session, we got a pullback coming in, and you can clearly see the price still came back within that particular same area. So it seems that the trade worked out during the London session. The pullback came in during the US session. Then the price has actually continued moving up during the Asian session. So always take note of the session opening time, the market opening times. We mainly focus on the US and the London market. However, the Asian market still also has potential to actually move. So today, the bias here is still to look for buying opportunities. You can see we've managed to get all the way to the top. So we've adjusted the level slightly, but overall, the bias here is still to look for buying opportunities. So right now, based on where the price is at, we're within a seller's area. So as usual, we do not want to jump in with any buying opportunities within an area where there's sellers. We need either a breach to the upside, so that is what could end up happening. So we need always one or two things, and the story is pretty much the same. If a breach happens, then we want a strong breach. So strong buyers coming in. And on the pullback, we don't want some strong sellers coming in as well. We need some sort of slowdown, birth pullback for us to potentially look for those buying opportunities. However, even looking at the way the sellers are reacting, doesn't mean that right now the price is going to go down just because we're within a seller's area. These levels have potential to be breached, especially following the overall flow of the market, which is to the upside. So what could end up happening is either we could end up getting still a pullback coming in, hopefully within one of these price actions, or at least within one of these areas of interest. Let's hope to see a probe or price action signal within these locations, or take note of the market opening time. So 10 o'clock, you can come to see where is the price. If the price starts giving us a pullback, then you know there's nothing much for you to do during the London session. But come back before 3 and figure out, are you within an area where there are buyers? If you are, it might not necessarily be all the way here. You could end up finding it could end up coming down all the way to the main buyers down here at the bottom. Or you might even find that it doesn't necessarily give you too much of a pullback. You can see if it's within even one of these small buyers areas, and you see the market slowing down and there are signs of big boy buyers, you could find some potential entries there. But for now, We'll take note of that, or at least those three levels, either waiting for the breach to the upside or at least a pullback. So for this one, we'll just need a bit of patience. So hope that's clear on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So moving on to the next US dollar pair, we do have the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Remember, this kind of pair, yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Wanted to see, at least during the session, the price was within this particular area. We're hoping to see some sort of pullback coming in for us to look for the buy. Fortunately, could not get all the way down here. You can see still at 10 o'clock, the price managed to go to the upside, reaching all the way to the top right there. Now, later on during the London US session, we did end up getting a pullback, and the Asian big boys are attempting to go up again. So overall, the bias here. So unfortunately, we could not get this pullback, because this would have been a very nice trade. However, today, the bias here is still to look for buying opportunities. The fact is, we also need to take note of the market structure. So one thing you always need to know in terms of, it seems quite simple, but people forget about the basics. If the market is going up, we're going to make higher highs and higher lows. Now, if you do end up noting what we're doing right now, we're not necessarily making those higher highs and higher lows, making the same high, same low, same high, similar, not necessarily as low, but then the fact that we're still within the same height, there's a probability that we could potentially be in some sort of range, bouncing between those levels. So the fact that we want to end up looking for buying opportunities, we'll still be waiting for our buying opportunities down here where the buyers are. Alternatively, if the price is able to break and hold above this particular seller's area and break the range to the upside, then we can be able to look for buying opportunities there. But for now, never look for those buying opportunities as close to the seller's area or even somewhere in the middle. These ones end up being a bit risky, because if you had your stop loss all the way down there, whether or not you enter buy or sell, it will end up giving you a headache, because you're trading constantly be positive, then negative, positive, negative, and that we will end up stressing you out. So remember, buy with buyers, something we always say, and sell with sellers. So we'll wait to see within the price coming back within this buyer's area for us to potentially look for a buying opportunity here. So hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So moving on to the next currency pair we do have the British pound against the US dollar. And this kind of pair, our bias here was yesterday to look for buying opportunities, still is today. So you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, yesterday, our level, we did end up having a particular level right here. And you can see what we wanted to see was a breach and a hold above. Now, these are the situations where we keep on mentioning, it doesn't matter how far the price goes. You can see at 10 o'clock, price came back in and held below. We wanted to see whether or not we could get more of a pullback, but not much activity ended up happening yesterday. So during the US session, the price attempted to break this area to the upside, and you can see it really did move up quite a bit of pips right here, this being the British pound against the US dollar, around 25 or 30 pips, where it looks as if this level had properly been broken. But if you see how the pullback came in very aggressive. That's why we always want to see a slowdown of those sellers. This price never actually held. So above this particular location, that means this support and resistance kept on holding. So you can clearly see the price kept on holding within that area. It's only today, during the Asian session, the price has started to go up higher. And right now, based on the fact that we did have some British pound fundamentals, you can clearly see that strength really coming in on the British pound pairs. So overall today, our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. We're very interested to see within this particular area, because the price has tested this location multiple times. Right now, as the price is breaking this area to the upside, we need that confirmation. Don't start jumping in on your buying opportunities at the top there, thinking that we're still going to go higher. Remember, wait to see if we can end up getting a pullback. You can clearly see yesterday, all those late buyers, people thinking that it's a buy because it looked quite obvious at that time. Later on, all of them were stopped out, because you can even clearly see where the market came down to. The buyers pushed up from here. Most likely, most people had their stop losses just below here, and that was probably ended up being caught. So right now, most people jumping on their buys, even if they have their stop losses here, don't be surprised if this market actually comes back in and goes below. So we need that confirmation to come back in. So let's wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming back in, and we want it slowly, not necessarily as aggressive as we did see yesterday. But if we do see that, a series of lower lows and lower highs, then potentially we could end up having a buying opportunity there. Now, in terms of where the price is going to get to, you can clearly see we can end up posting some areas right here, because you can clearly see we do seem to be in some sort of support resistance area. This level seems to match most of them, because it's an area of support, similar situation with resistance, looking at all these probes and the price holding within this area. So I'll be watching out for this particular location. So even right now, it's no surprise that you do see it reacting. And that's why we always tell you, be careful about where you're buying, either buying with buyers, selling with sellers. this situation, if you're jumping in on the buy all the way at the top, you'd be jumping in on your buy within an area where they're sellers. So let's wait to see if we can get that pullback before we are able to look for those buying opportunities on the British pound against the US dollar. So hope that's clear. As we move on to the next US dollar pair, here we have the euro against the US dollar. And yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. It still is the same situation today. We'll pretty much have the exact same areas because you can clearly see this market still seems to be respecting this same location. Because remember, overall, in a higher time frame, we are still within this particular range, bouncing between these two levels. So overall, we did want to jump in on buying opportunities yesterday. We can see the buys did work, although they were a bit tough to end up getting. As you can see, what we wanted to see was a breach. So similar situation here, a breach to the upside and the price holding above. But you can see every time it attempted to do that. You can see the first time it breached, but it came back in. It attempted to do that, it came back in. It was only later on within this particular area around 4:30 or so, around 4:30, 5:30, where the price actually held above to actually give you a nice buying opportunity. So most of the time, it could have easily ended up getting stopped out with the way the market was spiking. However, the price has managed to continue going up higher, and we'll still be focusing on these levels. However, right now, we're so close within that seller's area. Would not encourage you to look for your buying opportunities just yet. We need that pullback to come in, potentially a bit lower down. We'll see how the market ends up reacting within this area, or let's see if we can actually get the price breaking and holding above this yellow support and resistance area. We are able to see something like that, where the price is able to break and hold above this particular location, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities. But for right now, the main thing we want to see is if we can end up actually getting a pullback within one of these areas of interest. So hope that's clear on the euro against the US dollar and the game plan there. As we move on to the next and last US dollar pair that we do have. So in this situation here, we have the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Now remember yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. Did point out these three areas and we had the red support and resistance area. It did end up adjusting it slightly, but let me just put this blue level to illustrate what we're looking at yesterday. Remember, even just based on this, the price was all the way at the top here. Did mention what we could end up waiting for is a pullback coming in, and what we want to see is the price holding below. And you can clearly see the sellers came back in. So all those late buyers jumping in, the buyers putting their stop losses here, all got stopped out. But remember, we needed to get confirmation the price is actually going to hold below. So as the price came back in, it never actually held. You can clearly see it broke to the upside. So at that point in time during the London session, in fact, this pair did end up falling off our watch list. But if you take note, at 4:30, that's when the prices really did turn around. So even if you did miss the opportunity there, once the price came back in later on, this was around 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, there was a selling opportunity because you can see the price came back in and held below. So what we were waiting for early in the morning did end up happening later on in the evening, where the price did end up still coming down lower. Unfortunately, could not get all the way to the buyer's area because it seems that there were some buyers who are holding the market within right here who did push the price up. They seem to be the one giving issues as well. But today, the bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see even how aggressive the sellers came in. Now, if we do end up looking at this pair on the 1 hour, we'll see something of interest. You can clearly see this particular high area right here that we did have. This level was never actually breached. What this ends up actually being on a bigger time frame is just a probe. So the fact that this level has not been breached, right now the fact that the price is here, we'll still be expecting the price to potentially end up coming down. So that's the reason why we'll still have pretty much the same level, just adjusted slightly. But this one looks pretty good, but we want to see if we can end up getting some aggressive sellers coming in here. So right here, overall, bias here is to look for selling opportunities. Let me get this slightly. Bias here is going to be looking for these selling opportunities within this particular area. We pretty much have the same exact locations as yesterday, but we'll be very interested to see if the price breaks and holds above this red support and resistance area. No trading opportunity for us just yet, but if we do end up seeing the price coming back in and holding below, then we could end up looking for those sells. So right now, we're very interested to see how this market ends up reacting. Don't necessarily, if you do end up jumping in on a selling opportunity, watch out for areas where there are buyers. Like for right now, even if you did, let's say, jump in on a selling opportunity, these buyers are the ones who are actually pushing to the upside. So even if you didn't manage to grab a sell, these buyers could end up giving you issue. So we'll possibly end up waiting for a slowdown, possibly wait to see the buyers struggle before we are able to see a very nice selling opportunity or potential sell coming in on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So I hope that's clear on the game plan on the US dollar pairs. As you can clearly see, we'll mix and match the US dollar with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now, we're going to do the same thing with the Japanese yen pairs. Now, Japanese yen pairs did end up showing a lot of correlation, not necessarily the best that we had wanted, because most of the pairs did end up actually moving today during the Asian session. Yesterday, the opportunities weren't necessarily as clear as possible, because you can't clearly see when we're analyzing the prices yesterday, or at least the charts yesterday, during the 9:30, between 9 and 10, the price was within this particular location, in between both of these areas. So we needed either a pullback to come in for us to look for the buy, or a breach to the upside for us to look for those buying opportunities. So the price continued going up during the London session. We did get the price actually breaching and holding above. And remember, this was the level right here that we did have yesterday. And if we do end up going down to, especially to a smaller time frame, you should be able to see once the price, because clearly see this is the area that we did have yesterday. So once the price came up, you can clearly see no breach to the upside. But once we did end up breaking to the upside and the price was holding above, this is around 1:22 p.m., there was a buying opportunity there. But you can clearly see it did not really take off until around 3 or so, where the price managed to go to the upside, but all the yen pairs at 4:30, all of them did end up turning back, giving us more of a pullback. So you can clearly see the prices came down at 4:30, still holding within that particular area, but we did end up finding a new support and resistance area. So overall, the levels have changed slightly. We've adjusted them today. So we'll still be looking for buying opportunities, but if you realize where we are, we're within an area where there's sellers, so definitely not a good place to look for our buying opportunities just yet. This is an area where prices have actually even probed, as you can see yesterday. So we need either this area to be breached, and on the pullback, we want to see slow sellers coming in before we're able to see a buying opportunity. And we want to see the price actually holding above that area. That could be one option. So we'll wait to see how the price goes to the upside. But the fact that within a seller's area, we will not be surprised if we do end up still seeing the price even coming back down lower, potentially within this particular buyer's area. And you could find this price is within these locations, either within one of the market opening times, 10, 3, or 4:30. But also be aware, since we're also dealing with the New Zealand dollar against the yen, it's a lot active during the Asian session, even though we could end up finding some activity during the US session, as well as the London session. Just take note of that, where you could easily find the pullback coming in throughout today, then the Asian session again, that's when the prices will move. But overall, we'll still be looking for buys, and we can be able to use correlation on the yen pairs, because all of them do end up moving quite similarly. So can even end up showing you the next yen pair, which we do have, which is the Australian dollar against Japanese yen. Similar situation. Yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can clearly see the area that we were at was so close within the seller's area. We needed a breach and a hold above. And you can clearly see that did end up happening. This was the level that we did have yesterday, because we were respecting this particular highs. And you can see once the price did break this area to the upside and held above, so around midday, did give us a nice buying opportunity. However, 4:30, like all the yen pairs, they did really give aggressive pullback that did end up coming in. And we can see the same correlation during the Asian session today. That's when you can say the prices are attempting to go to the upside. So overall, today, buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. But if you realize, similar situation with the New Zealand dollar against the yen, we're so close towards the seller's area. So we need either this pullback to come in, potentially within this particular buyer's area right here. Can end up getting a pullback coming back in. See the price holding above, we should be able to find a nice buying opportunity. But see the price continue to go up, and we see the price breaking and holding above, we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities as well on the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Remember, the red support and resistance area is our line in the sand, meaning if the price breaks and holds below the red support and resistance area, this pair will no longer be on our watch list. So I hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the yen. So moving on to the next yen pair, we have the British pound against the Japanese yen, similar correlation as we're clearly seeing. But this one did actually give us a nice trading opportunity, because by the time we were analyzing the market, so let me just adjust the level. Yesterday, the level was within this particular area. You can see even where we were at around 9:30 or so, similar time to today. We're waiting to see if we could end up getting the price actually holding above this area. We could end up looking for a buy. And that's exactly what happened. You can clearly see the price attempted to break to the downside, the buyers came in. Attempted to break to the downside, buyers came in, and the price held above. So even though it did end up moving later on around 1 o'clock, where the buyers did end up managing to go up 3 p.m., it did end up getting more of a push to the upside, but you can clearly see 4:30, like all the yen pairs, we did end up getting some aggressive pullback coming in. But you can see the price did come back within this support and resistance area. And during the Asian session, we are attempting to break this area to the upside again. So overall, bias here is to look for buying opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. Right now, we do seem to be attempting to break this area to the upside. Remember, I've not said we're broken, we're saying attempting, because we do not know whether or not it's actually broken or not. We need to get that confirmation by the pullback. I know it sounds like a broken record, but that's exactly what we end up looking for. So giving you advice on what we do. So let's wait to see. You can be able to possibly look and see on the 3-minute time frame, how is the seller coming in? If we do see the price holding above and there are signs that the buyers are showing interest within this location, we definitely should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities. And using the fact that there's some strength coming in on the British pound pairs. Remember, we also looked at the British pound against the US dollar, really going to the upside. So there's definitely some British pound strength coming in at the moment. So we can end up waiting to see that pullback coming in before we look for the buy. But please don't jump in on your buys here because you have no clue of where to actually put your stop loss. So if you're putting your stop loss, you have to be so far. And if you're putting your stop loss so far, you don't need to even really target much, much more, right? So that's the reason why we've been encouraged. Let's wait and see if we can end up getting that pullback, price holding above for us to look for that buy. So moving on to the next yen pair, you can clearly see the same correlation coming in with all these pairs. Similar situation yesterday, 9-10 o'clock, we were within the middle of these two areas, so no buying opportunity just yet. But you can see once the price did manage to break this area to the upside and hold above. In this situation, this was actually at 3 o'clock. Did end up giving us a buying opportunity to take it to the upside. But similar situation, 4:30, all these yen pairs did end up giving us a pullback. And during the Asian session, that's when we can see the prices attempting to go up again. So overall, today, levels have changed slightly, so we'll still be looking for buying opportunities, watching out for buys based on these three areas. It sounds like a broken record, but right now, since we're within an area where the sellers, we're not going to jump in on any buying opportunities. At the same time, we're not just going to jump in on sells. You can if you want to, but for us, we try and look to grab the trade based on the overall trend. So in this situation, we'd rather even wait for a pullback to come in, potentially within this particular area, for us to even end up looking for a buy there. That one would be much better. If not, we'll wait up waiting for either a breach to the upside or a pullback to come in for us to take a buying opportunity there. Remember, with trading, it's all about probability. So you have to figure out if this happens, then I'll do this. But what if what you're thinking doesn't happen? What would you do? You need to also have a game plan for that as well. That's the reason why we always show two options, because we're saying if the price breaks to the upside, that's our game plan. Let's wait for a pullback and a hold above for us to look for a buy. If we don't see the buyers breaking to the upside, we'll wait for a selling opportunity to come in, or at least the sells to come in, and look to see if we can grab a buying opportunity within one of these particular areas, within also one of those specified times. So remember, it might not necessarily get all the way to here. You might even find it just pulling back towards this buyer area or this support and resistance area. You never know where the price could actually end up getting to, but we'll be interested to see and read that pullback coming in for us to look for those buying opportunities on the euro against the Japanese yen. So hope that's clear on the euro against the yen. As we move on to the last yen pair we do have, this is the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunity. This buys worked out quite well for us, actually. Remember, we did point out right here, we're within an area where they're buyers, so we needed to see some sort of either aggressive buyer coming in or some sort of probe. Probes will end up giving us a nice clue that many people will be excited for the sell. And that could have given us a nice buying opportunity. Unfortunately, did end up showing us signs that there was a buy. You can see around midday, that's when the price ended up taking off to the upside. Remember, I did point out that we're potentially within some sort of range. So if you do end up grabbing a buying opportunity, make sure you manage your trade within this seller's area. You can see this price ended up getting towards this location. US big boys, not necessarily much they've done. The Asian big boys are attempting to break this area to the upside. So we pretty much have the same levels. Aggressive buyers down here, or at least the bottom of this small range. We do have the top right here. Now, be aware, if this price is actually being able to break, or at least the price is breaking and holding above this range. So if we do end up seeing the price actually holding, remember we want to see a slowdown of those sellers, then we could actually end up finding a very nice buying opportunity, being able to come back all the way to the top area right here. But for now, let's wait to get that confirmation. Let's see how that pullback comes in. We don't want strong sellers coming in. We want sellers to come in a bit slowly. That would give us signs that the buyers are stronger than the sellers. We could potentially continue looking for buying opportunities on the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. So I hope that's clear on all the yen pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the US dollar as well as the Japanese yen with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to move on to the Canadian dollar pairs. Most of these are brand new entrant pairs, because remember, we were not looking for matching any of these pairs yesterday. So we'll start off here with the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. In this kind of pair, our bias here is to look for buying opportunities. We can realize right now where we are, but within an area where they're selling. So we do not want to jump in on buying opportunities just yet. Now, we want to see if we can end up getting a pullback coming in. And one thing that we've realized is the market structure is starting to resemble, or at least attempting to resemble, some sort of channel, especially based on the fact that you can see these highs that the price has been making, at least this high. Right now, the price has gone up, but it's not necessarily that much higher, right? So that means that there's a possibility that we could end up getting a deeper pullback. You can even see when the price came up here, the buyers who pushed up were here, but the price still came down a bit deeper before managing to go to the upside. So it's a similar situation today. Just because we're within an area where the sellers will not jump in on any selling opportunities just yet, we need one of two options. So we could end up seeing the price breaking and holding to the upside for us to continue the buys, or what we hope to see is if we can end up getting this pullback coming in. Could end up seeing it reacting within here, could end up even seeing some sort of probe, the price action signal, for us to look for a buying opportunity here on the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. But right now, we just need to be a bit patient. Let's see how the price action ends up. If it breaches and holds above, there could be a nice buy. But if not, then we'll be waiting to see if we can grab the buying opportunity from a bit lower down. So moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair. Here we have the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. You can see that same correlation, similar situation where we're potentially within some sort of channel. You can clearly see the prices, not necessarily, they're giving much deeper pullbacks, not necessarily respecting, or at least respecting the support and resistance areas properly. But overall here, today, buyers are going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. We do have the main sellers right there at the top. We've gotten a pullback. We have a support and resistance area here in the middle that could end up giving us a nice buying opportunity, or at least an area of interest. And we have the main buyers down here at the bottom. So as long as we're holding above these buyers, our buyers should be to look for buying opportunities. So right now, let's wait to see what ends up happening. Hopefully, we can end up getting a pullback coming in. We'll end up seeing something similar to this, where the price is able to come down. You see the price actually holding above here, then we should be able to find a buying opportunity. If not, when the price goes and breaks and holds to this area to the upside, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So I hope that's clear, at least what the game plan is. Nothing much for us to do. You can see we're right in the middle of both those levels. We need either the price to either come down to a buyer's area or breach that seller's area to the upside. So that seller's area now becomes a buyer's area. Remember, support becomes resistance and vice versa. So hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. So moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair, we do have the British pound against Canadian dollar. This pair is really going to the upside. This is mainly because we did have some British pound fundamentals that did end up coming out. Clearly, it's showing a lot of strength on this pair. So these are the levels that we did have initially. The price was holding within this particular area when we're doing the analysis early in the morning. Right now, the way the price has gone to the upside, there's definitely some strong buyers coming in. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting that pullback, because obviously there's nothing much we can do now. I mean, will you run for a plane if you're already seeing it in the air? There's nothing much you can do. You need to wait for it to come back down for you to get on. It's a similar situation. Don't start trying to jump and chase these buying opportunities all the way at the top. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting that pullback. We've just broken an SNR area. We need to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in for us to look for the buy. And depending on where the market turns, so we could end up finding the level is actually within here, or at least there's another level here. That means if the price is able to come down low, and you end up getting, let's say, a pullback coming in, and the pullback comes in nicely, and you're able to see some sort of price action or probe or price action signal within these areas, or it's within one of those areas within the market opening time, could end up finding a nice buying opportunity. But remember, make sure to manage your trade within the top area right there. Don't necessarily try and think that it's going to continue going. Always make sure you're managing your trade just in case. So remember, we're always dealing with probability. The trade can end up either going in your direction, hitting a take profit. But what if it starts going in your direction, then comes back to hit your stop loss? What are you going to do? Or what if it just goes straight to hit your stop loss? So you need to have a game plan for all those situations. So when something happens, you're not panicking. All right, because panic ends up happening when you don't know what you need to do. But if you've already thought about what could end up happening, at that point in time, you'll be prepared and you will not be surprised about it. So hope that's clear. British pound pair is really going, but let's wait to see if we can end up putting that pullback. So moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair. Here we do have the euro against the Canadian dollar. Here, brand new entry on our watch list, and here we will be looking for buying opportunities. So if I have identified these three areas where the buyers could end up working out, right now we're within an area where there are sellers. So you can clearly see the reason why we keep on mentioning do not jump in on buys in the areas where there are sellers. Right now, the sellers do seem to be attempting to come down. Let's see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in low. At least potentially within this particular area, if we can end up getting some sort of probe or price action signal for us to look for buying opportunities there. But just because you're seeing aggressive sellers coming in, that doesn't mean that you might find people getting stopped out where the price just looks as if it's coming down, then it just shoots to the upside. And if you see the price holding above, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities on the euro against the Canadian dollar. But for right now, even if you look at this higher time frame, we're so close within this major seller's area. And you can see how aggressive the seller has been able to push down from that level before. But the fact that also we've broken this major support and resistance area where the price did seem to be ranging, the fact that we've broken to the upside, we could still get the price pulling back to the top of this range for us to look for the buy. That's what ideally I would personally be waiting for, looking for a buying opportunity down here lower, is making sure to manage my trade within the seller's area at the top. So hope that's clear as we move on to the last Canadian dollar pair we do have. This is the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So these are brand new entry on our watch list. And overall, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. So overall, we do have these three areas of interest, aggressive sellers right there at the top. We do have an area where there are buyers who seem to be holding, and we do have another support and resistance area all the way down at the bottom. Now, overall, we will be looking for selling opportunities. However, just based on the way the price went up and came down quite aggressive, you can see this blue line that we have here. If we do end up going to the 1 hour time frame, you'll notice right here, let me just stretch this out to make it a bit clear. You'll notice something that we always mention, or at least point out, if you see a probe. So right now we did have this area right here. Price went up, it never held above, came back in. And you can see the price has pulled back, potentially coming back towards this area before we do end up seeing. So the price might actually end up reacting within this location, but we're fully aware that it could still be a sell, right? It might not necessarily react there, but could still end up pulling back all the way to this seller, and we could end up still seeing the price going down, showing that there are big aggressive sellers who are pushing down from here. So if you're looking for any selling opportunities, there could be some potential sells on this currency pair coming to the downside. Those of you who have done the one-on-one class as well as the AMP will know exactly what to be able to do here and seeing that there could be some nice potential trade here. But we need to be patient. You can see the buyers are still pushing to the upside. Let's wait to see how far they can get to before we are able to look for those selling opportunities on the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So hope that's clear on all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the US dollar, the yen, as well as the Canadian dollar with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to have a look at the indices, then jump into gold and silver. So guys, remember, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A section. I will be addressing them once I am done with gold. So here on the NAS 100, yep. We were looking for buying opportunities yesterday. Remember now we did end up pointing out these three areas, but initially the price was just in the middle of our particular two areas. Nothing for us particularly to do there. You can see the illustration that we wanted to potentially see a pullback coming in for us to look for a buying opportunity here. Now you can see at 3 o'clock, we did end up attempting to do that, but it came down lower. Fortunately, could not get all the way to this main buyer's area. It's found some other small support and resistance area. And at 4:30, that's when the price did manage to go all the way to the top. So we just missed that level slightly. But overall, you can clearly see the price, or at least the bias here is still to look for buying opportunities. So we adjusted the level slightly. We did have them a bit wider, so we'll move them a bit closer for today. So overall, we'll be looking for buying opportunities on this pair. Now, the fact that we're so close within a seller's area, we do know the game plan for us. Nothing for us to do there except wait for either a breach to the upside, or let's see if we can end up getting that pullback. Because you can see when looking at how the buyers are coming in right now, they don't necessarily look as aggressive. So you could easily find the price actually giving us more of a pullback within this particular area here before we're able to see a buying opportunity. You might even find this price actually starting to range between these two levels. However, we'll wait to see what kind of reaction the sellers give. But if not, and the price is able to break and hold above this particular area, remember, we want to see some slowdown of some sellers coming in before we're able to see a buying opportunity on the NAS 100. So pretty clear cut, not necessarily anything for us to do just yet. either this pullback to come in or a breach to the upside. So moving on to the next pair we do have. So here we have the Dow Jones. Now remember yesterday we were talking about looking for selling opportunities, the fact that we're within a major range. If we do end up going to the 1 hour time frame, the fact that we're back within this major sellers area. So even though the buyers have come in aggressive, we're within this sellers area, and as long as we're holding within that area, we should be looking for sells. So yesterday we wanted to see, we did get the price breaching, properly breaching and holding above. We could end up looking for buying opportunities. But you can see the price did not manage to do that. It actually ended up getting to the highest point it's been. Looking at the way the buyers came in, very much struggling within that location. And you can see as the price came back in, this was around 4:30 or so. You can see we did get the pullback coming in. Price showed us evidence that it's actually holding below. So this level has not been broken. And the price still seems to be respecting these particular areas. Remember, I did point out, this is the buyers who are pushing up. So these are the buyers you do need to watch out for. And you can clearly see they still seem to be reacting within that location. But look at the strength of the buyer. If we're talking about the buyer, since this is where the area where the buyers are pushing up, look at how they pushed up the first time, quite aggressive. The last time they were there, looking at the push, do seem to be quite aggressive as well. That time, they did end up pushing quite aggressive, not necessarily as aggressive as the first and second time, but right now, look at how they're going to the upside. They do seem to be slowing down. So that's a good sign for us. They're not necessarily seeming as aggressive. So we'll still be very interested to see if we can end up grabbing a nice selling opportunity. We'll be still focusing on the same areas. So aggressive sellers right here. And we do have the buyers area down here and the main buyers all the way down at the bottom. However, do not disregard this particular level, this blue line. There's a reason why I pointed out yesterday. The fact that the buyers are there, they could potentially give you issues. And since those are the buyers who are holding the market, you do need to make sure that you manage your trade here, get the price breaking and holding below there. Then at that point in time, it should be clear. We're good to go to continue looking for those sells. But for right now, let's wait to see what kind of slowdown comes in within this particular location for us to potentially look for sell. But remember, if the price breaks and holds above this area, and we remember we want a strong breach, not something like this where the market is struggling. If we can get a strong breach to the upside and that pullback coming in, so similar situation to what I had drawn here yesterday. So the game plan is pretty much the same. Then we can end up looking for buying opportunities on the Dow Jones. But until then, as long as the price is holding below, there's no buying opportunity for us just yet. So hope that's clear on the Dow Jones. So moving on to silver. Now on silver, our bias here is overall to still look for selling opportunities, even though on the short term, we can see the price has been coming up. But remember, when we go up to the 1 hour time frame, if you look at it and then compare how the sellers came down, because you can see these are the main sellers who pushed down. They attempted to come down lower. Remember, we said we needed a better price than this. They managed to come up. No aggressive sellers just yet, because remember, when the prices get to an area where sellers are, you will see some aggressive selling reaction. So the price has managed to end up going up, approaching, coming close to our main seller area, but there's also potential that we could just be pulling back to this support and resistance area. You can see this is an area of SNR that was this seller who managed to bridge this area to the downside. So the fact that we're within there, we could end up seeing the market actually continue to go to the downside. And the fact that the price managed to go up higher, buyers do seem to be slowing down. And right now, we're potentially seeing some aggressive sellers. That's the reason why we'll still be looking for selling opportunities, even though it seems like on the short term, the price did manage to continue going up a bit. So overall, we'll pretty much have the same areas. You can see the overall story that we're trying to read, and the reason why we're looking for sales. So no sign of what this, no sign for selling opportunity coming in just yet. We wait to see. Once the sellers come in, we see some buyers slowing down, then I think at that time it should be good to go to continue with the sales. But for right now, just need to be a bit patient. Wait for one of two things. We do have these major support and resistance areas here. So within these particular levels, so overall, as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area, our bias is definitely going to be looking for selling opportunities. What we could end up waiting to see is something similar to what we were hoping yesterday. Could end up getting this price coming back in and holding below. There could be a nice selling opportunity at that point in time. But remember, watch out for areas where buyers have reacted from before. This is definitely an area where you should end up managing your trade. Similar situation with this support and resistance areas. But for right now, let's be a bit patient. Let's wait to see how far this price can actually go up. Because remember, we've seen some aggressive sellers. Let's see the buyers coming in a bit weaker. If we do see that, there could be some nice selling opportunities coming in on silver. But until then, personally, we'll be on the sidelines just waiting to see the price within a seller's area for a nice sell. or a breach to the upside with this particular main seller. So hope that's clear on silver as we move on to the last pair that we do have, which is gold. Now on gold did end up breaking this area to the upside and holding above. Remember, yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. However, we did point out that as long as the price is holding below the red support resistance area, our bias is to look for sales. If we do get the price breaching and holding above this particular area, we could end up looking for buying opportunities. And you can see the things that we always keep on mentioning. Right here, we get the price managing to break this area to the upside. You can see at 10. My price managed to go to the upside, was actually holding. But you can realize the price did not actually take off until 3 o'clock. So they did end up giving you more confidence. The price had just beat that area to the upside. It was holding above. It was between a market session open. You could have found some very nice buying opportunity then, right? And you can see at 4:30, that's when it really did take off to the upside. So once we did end up seeing that, we could have actually switched our bias, and we should have been able to switch our bias to the buying opportunity. And you can see the bias really did work out. So overall today, bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. However, we do have our line in the sand right here. So as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we also are going to watch out for these other areas. You can see we did end up approaching a major seller's area, and right now we are getting that pullback. So we'll be very interested to see how far this market can end up going down. So hopefully we'd end up seeing something similar to this, where we end up seeing now the buying opportunity coming in. And remember, since here we're dealing with gold, doesn't mean that it might not necessarily move at 10, but it has a higher likelihood of moving during the US session. So either 3 or 4:30, we could end up finding the markets really moving. So let's see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in, and it's within one of these areas, one of these buyers areas within one of those market opening times. So I hope the game plan is clear. Right now, the pullback is coming in. Don't start jumping in on your selling opportunities. I mean, buying opportunities just yet. You can see these are the sellers who are pushing down. You can always follow the story of the seller. Now they make a new low, you can follow which seller was that. Right now, still this seller who is pushing down. So don't be surprised if they continue pushing down lower until the US session does come in. So I guess that is it for all the currency pairs, including gold and silver, as well as the indices. So I can be able to address some questions on the Q&A section. So I'm seeing there's been a bit of chit chat, which is good. So Lucy Mwangi is saying, good morning, team. My problem is, when am I supposed to buy? I find myself selling and vice versa. Kindly help. Yes, now it's a common problem that most traders face. And I'm seeing also John has actually pointed that out. Now, the one thing you need to end up taking note of is whenever we want to buy, right, we need sellers. And in order for us to sell, we need buyers. I mean, if you're just thinking about practically, if you go to a shop, you need that shop to be selling that item in order for you to actually buy it. And vice versa. If you're a shop, you need people who are willing to come to buy in order for you to sell your item. So the same thing applies with trading. However, one thing most people get confused, and they end up getting a lot of FOMO. People will not necessarily, right now you can clearly see, this price did end up going to the upside. What we should be waiting for, not just jumping in on our buying opportunities at the top there, because you can see it going up, just jumping in on your buys. You see it going up, jumping in your buys, because we don't know how far is it actually going to go. What we actually want to do is, when we're buying, we need the price to come in. We need sellers actually coming down. So people just now start thinking that it's actually going to go down in order for us to buy. So it's counterintuitive, where you need to buy when the price is coming down, and you need to sell when the price is going up. So the fact that here we're looking for buying opportunities, right now, the fact that it's coming down, this is what we want. This is what we want to be able to read in order for us to identify when these sellers actually die out. When can we actually jump in? Or when are these buyers who are going to be interested in it again? So once we do end up seeing that, we can be able to jump in. So don't necessarily try and chase, because remember, even I pointed out with these British pound pairs, many people right now, I bet you, are jumping in on buys. And it's very risky, because right now they're seeing the prices going. They think they'll be left. They think now that there's not going to be another opportunity, or it's not going to come back. But what happens is, most people who jump in on their buys, and I know many people here have also been caught, we have experienced this as well. You jump in on your buys there, you find the price coming down, right? You close your buy at a loss, then you see it going up again, right? It's because most people are chasing the market. And that's why we always encourage, wait till for the price to come back within an area of interest for you to be able to look for a trading opportunity. But you can be able to give us a call. I know the contact details should be there in the chat box, and I should also be able to help you out there as well. But thank you folks so much for that question, Lucy. I'm seeing Alan Rono, you're saying hi, Mitch. Thanks a lot. Karibu sana, Alan. Glad that you're here. See Newal Ventures. I'm saying, hi, Mitch. If I have $100 account, which lot size should I use and which leverage should I set? Now, the one thing about trading is leverage is tricky. Leverage comes in, it's a double-edged sword. So obviously, you need leverage, especially to trade, especially due to the fact that when you're dealing with a small account, but not necessarily get too much leverage. Now, possibly 1:400 is quite high, right? So anything below that, 1:400 and below, you should be okay, but not over risking, not just jumping in and entering the biggest lot size that you can, because that can end up coming back against you and hurting you in the long run. What you could do if you have $100, there's one tool that we always use. I think John should be able to put a link for this. This position size calculator, you can find very many of them online. We just use this one on my FX book. So if you have $100 and let's say you're entering a USD trade, then you'll be able to come here for this. So you'll be able to come here and put your $100 here based on your $100. And now you're able to figure out what risk do you want to use? Is it a monetary value? Do you want to risk 1% or percentage value? Is it 2%, 3%, 5%? Do you want to lose, or at least what you're risking is maybe $10 or $5? You can be able to decide. So let's say if it's 2%, you can put 2% in terms of risk reward. And remember, we always encourage, where is your stop loss going to be? So we'll always keep on mentioning, if let's say you had entered, which trade could there be? Like we had seen, yeah, let's say for something like this US dollar against Swiss franc. Now, based on the higher time frame, the fact that we said that it could be a range or something like that, let's say, for example, if you did end up entering a selling opportunity there, stop loss would be within that particular area, targeting either here or all even the way down here. Let's say, for example, this is not a trade that we're actually taking, but for example, so 42 pips or something would be your stop loss. So you need to be able to come here and write down your 42 pips and be able to calculate to see what lot size. So the $100, 42 pips might seem like it's quite far. Let's say, for example, if it was 20 pips, you'd still end up entering on 0.01. However, if let's say you want to switch this and rather than risking $2, you want to risk $5. So rather than it being 5%, you can swap this with money. You can say you're willing to risk $5. So with that $5, that's the exact amount that you risk. Your lot size you should enter is 0.03. So your lot size should never be just one stagnant thing. It should always keep on changing consistently, depending on the trade. So if the stop loss is 20 pips, you should be able to put that. If the stop loss is, and that's why we always encourage, if you're able to get a tighter stop loss. So let's say, for example, that same trade, you're able to get 10 pips stop loss instead of 20, you're entering at 0.05 on that same trade, risking $5. So we do end up needing, this is the big tool that's needed for money management. It's not just a matter of entering based on a specific lot size. There's not one size that fits all. It always has to be adjusting based on that. So I hope that's clear for you, Newal. So Caroline Chege, I'm seeing I have been stopped out often at the conservative entries. Is it advisable to just wait for the aggressive entries for more confidence and better risk to reward? Would encourage that. It's not also that the fact that the other pairs don't necessarily move, or at least the conservative entries. One thing we always tell you guys, or at least would encourage, and we also tell our students, is make sure that you're taking notes of how your trades are going. Now, if you might find that for you specifically, the trades that are on the conservative don't necessarily maybe work as well for you in comparison to the ones that are on the aggressive entries or the semi-conservative entries. So if that's the case, right, out of 10 trades that you've taken, how many worked, how many did not? How many were the conservative area? How many were the aggressive? If you find majority of them at the aggressive area, then maybe avoid taking the other ones and only focus on those ones on the aggressive, right? So you need to be constantly adjusting, review your trades, look at what did you do last week, which trades worked, when did they work, why did they work? And the trades that lost, why did these ones not work, right? You figure out what mistake did you make, because you'll find out that the majority of the time, you end up making the exact same mistake throughout all those trades. Where you find the loss, it's the exact same thing that you're doing. So unless you know and see what it is that you're actually doing, you'll never know that you're making that mistake, right? So would encourage maybe now taking a look back at all your trades, see if that's the case, maybe try and avoid those ones, only focus on the other ones. Yes, you'll enter less trades, but at the same time, you'll be avoiding losses as well. So that's also a way of risk management and money management. Right? So I hope that's clear for you, Caroline. But remember, guys, you can be able to contact us. We do have our contact details right there in the chat box. And remember, if you do want more education, especially these are concepts that we really go much deeper into within the AMP program. So remember, we do have the AMP class, the Amplified program, Afriforex Amplified class, where you can be able to join us. We will be going through all these concepts that you're talking about in terms of when is the best place to look for these trades, even due to the fact that you're talking about conservative and aggressive entries. Literally, once we're usually done with this session, we'll literally come and look at each and every single pair, figure out what are we meant to do, where can we buy, where can we sell, which is the best areas to do, even changing the way you're meant to be thinking and looking at the charts. So we do end up going through that. Remember, the class is starting next week, so the slots are nearly full. So do make sure if you want to end up signing up, you can feel free to sign in on this. So you can end up filling out this form, and at least we'll end up getting back to you. At least we'll give you a call sometime during the day. So I guess that's it from me and from us. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you guys have found value in this session. Remember, we want to give you guys as much value as possible because we really struggled when we started out, where there was no one really being able to do this, but at least giving you that guidance should end up helping. And remember, don't be afraid to end up giving us a call. We're just like you guys. I mean, we just want to end up helping as much people as possible. We do end up getting a number of calls, and for those people who have actually called, I think they'll be testament to us trying our best to be of service to you guys. So once again, thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have an amazing trading day. God bless. Happy trading, and bye for now. Cheers, guys.